and then in just a second I will mute you so that you we haven't got all the background noises and all that sort of thing. So if you need me, just either wave at me, or you can use the chat button that's at the bottom. Okay, so just talk to me that way if you need to. All right. Okay, let me just do this one. 1 second. Sorry, not very well organised this afternoon. Let's go across to here. Okay, meetings, Sunday afternoon, start. Okay, so if you can come and sit, please. Sit maybe on your bolster or on your props somewhere so that you are nice and comfortable. Maybe sit cross-legged. If cross-legged isn't working for you, then please sit in another way. Okay, good. I can see all of you, which is excellent. So again, this is yin yoga, and most of you have practiced this with me before, but if you're very new to this, just go at your own pace and understand that yin is the opposite to yang. So this is very much a slow practice, very much passive in its sense of allowing. So that's what I want you to have in your head today, that you are going to allow this practice to happen, and just allow also whatever needs to come up, allow that to come up and to come out if you want it to. So we're going to be focusing on the hips, and the hips can carry a lot of the emotions of frustration and irritability and anger. And so if you find those feelings bubbling up in you, that's normal, okay, that's okay. Just allow it to happen. Try not to get too involved in it, just allow it, notice it, and accept it. Okay, so we're going to start. Take your fingers down to the floor next to you. Take a lovely big breath in and sweep your hands wide and bring the palms together above your head. And then as you exhale, bring the hands down through the center line. And we're going to do that 2 more times. You're going to breathe in and out. Lovely. One more time. Breathe in and out. Good job. Okay, now let's rest the hands. So you can put your hands on your lap, or you can have your palms resting in the center somewhere that is comfortable for you. You could take Chin Mudra, which is the thumb and the index finger touching, and the rest of the fingers are loose. They can just curl freely. Okay, I'd like you to close your eyes, please. You're going to breathe in and out through your nose. And just feel the breath moving down into the bottom part of your lung space. Kind of fanning out the lower ribs a little and creating a little bit of space round about where the spleen and the liver lies, maybe into where the kidneys are on the back of your body too. So you're breathing in and out. And if it's a struggle to breathe out, then open the mouth. Let the breath come out through the mouth. But do try to breathe in through the nose, because that will help to slow and to steady the breath. And if you practiced with me the other day and we were doing a lot of sa, ha breath, that was kind of our theme for the week through the majority of the classes that I've shared with you. So you're breathing in and your breath kind of makes the sound of sa. And as you breathe out, it's the sound ha. Okay, so it's just floating between the two. You're not actually making those sounds. There's no audibility to your breath, or no voice being used. But you are noticing that when you direct the breath in this way, it becomes a little bit more controlled, and you're starting to work with Ujjayi pranayama. And this is really important because it's a great warming breath, but it's also a great steadying breath. And because of the amount of sounds that you make, albeit very quiet, it's still there, it's still a constant. And when we're practicing yin yoga and we're in our poses for a long amount of time, it is quite useful to have something to anchor our attention onto. And primarily that anchor point is going to be your breath. So just listen to the sound of your breath coming in and out. Maybe, I'm not sure how well the sound carries in here, but I've kept the windows open so that you can maybe hear the birds that are chirruping in my back garden. If you're lucky enough to be in your own back garden or near to a window, then maybe listen to the birds that you can hear too. Good. And then just to kind of set the tone, if you like, of a kind of clearing, cleansing practice, we're going to share a chant of 3 ohms. And we're going to do this together. If you want to join in, you can. If you don't, that's fine. You could just say it in your head, or you could just listen to me. Again, I'm not sure how well the sound of this carries. I know when I've been on other people's yoga classes, and singing and music just doesn't really work very well through Zoom. So you're going to have to, if you can't hear me very well, you've got to imagine it, or you make your own sounds. Okay? So 3 of these. Nice big breath in. And again, breathe in. Well done. So that just clears the space around us, clears the environment, and just makes way for a peaceful practice to occur. Okay. And then dropping your chin towards your chest, opening your eyes gently, and then allowing your head to lift slowly. Okay. So as I said, we're going to take a little bit of an exploration of the hips today. And I thought we would get the biggest pose out of the way first of all. Now, this is called saddle pose. And I know for some of you it is delightful, and for others it is horrendous. So there are loads and loads of options, especially if you are nursing anything in your knees. I want you to be super careful here, or wait for me to give you the alternative, okay? So I have got my bolster. So if you haven't got a bolster, remember it's just a couple of long cushions, maybe using that as a support. The other thing that you can do, because if you're in your own home, I'm guessing that you've got to hand cushions, like off of your sofa or off of your bed or off of other people's beds. So you could prop your bolster, I'm going to keep calling it a bolster even though you might not have one, up to a 45-degree angle if necessary. I'm not going to keep mine flat on the floor, and you're very welcome to practice without using a bolster at all. So if you don't have one and you want to do this without, it's fine. I've got my big toes together and I'm sitting on my heels. It might be that you want something, I've got a brick here, and there's something sometimes in between the feet for the bottom to sit on is also quite nice. Then you're going to lean back into your hands, and you're going to point your tailbone in between your knees, and then you're lowering down. So you've got to really get the bolster or the pillows in towards your lower back, and you're lying down. Now this is a massive pose for the quadriceps, so big stretchy pose, but it might not be your favorite. If one knee is not happy here, then by all means, release that leg and have that knee bent or that leg straight out down towards the end of your mat instead. So you've just got one leg in the saddle position. And that's a pose in and of itself. And if you wanted to, you could do that. If, however, you're thinking, my knees don't like this, whatever I'm doing, then your alternative is to come into Sphinx pose. So that's lying on your tummy with your elbows underneath your shoulders. And you can start off with the elbows underneath the shoulders, but if you want to elevate them, maybe putting something like a cushion or a block underneath them, then you can pick up the height to make the back bend a little bit more intense. Okay. So here's your option. So you're either lying back into a saddle or you are into a Sphinx. So you're lying on your tummy and practicing a back bend that way. Okay. So don't worry if you get a little bit like, what am I doing? I'm not sure about this. It's okay to modify and to adapt. Basically, the two areas that I'm looking for you to work. So Lucy, can you lie back down? Yeah, lie down. And if you want, put something extra underneath your head so your neck doesn't feel too far back. Can someone running? Yeah, that's it. Get you something to put underneath your head. Good job. All right. So, are you all right, Victoria? That's it. Okay, so the two areas that we are working is the lower back and potentially the front of the hips and into the quads, the muscles on the front of the thighs. If you're in a Sphinx pose and you're thinking, yeah, I'm happy here, I'm going to stay here for the foreseeable, that's fine. But if after a little while you want to make the back bend a little bit deeper, and this will stress the hips a little bit more, is to come up into seal pose, which is when the arms are straight and the fingers are turned out to the side. So you have the option, those of you that are lying on your front, you have the option to go a little bit deeper and look for a more intense sensation on the front of the hips than perhaps the position that Sphinx offers you. Okay, so just stay where you feel that you're able to and go back into the sa-ha breath that you were using from before. So it's sa on the inhalation and ha on the exhalation. Now this is a big pose for the front of the hips if you are lying in a saddle position. It's also very opening for the front of your body, whether you're lying on your front or on your back, it doesn't matter. But just this action of creating compression, if you like, across the back line of the body, putting stress and tension through there. But then what we also have going on is length through the front of the body. And so I'd like you to allow maybe the collarbones to open a little bit, the shoulders to roll back a little bit. If you're lying on your back, please take your hands either down by your sides with your palms facing the ceiling, or you have an option if you're lying on your back to take your arms around the top of your head and just sort of loosely hold the opposite elbow or opposite forearm if you want. Okay? Now, just be kind to yourself, be mindful that, especially if you've not practiced this pose before. Now, some of you will have done this a lot with me, and as we said the other night when we were practicing yin, it's great because once you've done it a few times, you understand what it is that your body requires, what props it might need, what it likes, what it doesn't like. Not necessarily saying that that's okay to only practice what you like or what you enjoy, because that's the easy route, isn't it? And that's what we always want to do. But in terms of exploring what you need in order to make the pose accessible for you and for your body. And it might be that you have incredibly tight quadriceps on the front of your legs. And remember that these muscles here, these enable us to back bend. And if they're super, super tight, then back bending is going to be more of a challenge. Now, does that mean we leave this pose out? No, it doesn't. It means we are just a little bit more gentle and a little bit kinder to ourselves for the duration of us being in it. We listen to the breath and we direct the inhalation to any part of the body that you might feel that needs the extra kindness. Okay, so we're going to think about gently coming up. And for those of you that are in Sphinx pose, you might want to just lift up onto all fours and gently round the back of your body into a cat stretch before dropping the bottom backwards towards the heels. For those of you that are in saddle pose, try to lift up by bringing your chin towards your chest and lifting up evenly, maybe coming up onto the forearms and lifting yourself forwards. And it might be that you too want to come onto all fours to round the back of your body gently before dropping your bottom back towards your heels. And just spending a moment working the spine, working the body in the opposite direction, but very, very mildly. Okay, so we're going to now just gently lift up, and I'd like you to come to an all fours position. So we're going to come into shoelace pose, and the best way to come into this is on hands and knees. You might want your blanket somewhere nearby or a cushion to sit on for this one, so have that to hand if necessary. Okay, so you're going to bring your left knee into the middle of your mat with your left foot over towards the right hand side. Then your right leg is going to cross around the front like this, so that your right, if I turn around this way, you might be able to see. So I want you to be in this position. I kneel like that. Can you see I cross one leg in front of the other? And so I want you to line up your knees, if possible, one in front of the other. And then you're moving to sit back. Now I've sat back onto my bolster, but you don't have to sit on something if you don't want to. You can sit flat onto your mat. But do try to have the knees stacked. Now, if this isn't a great one for your knees, then you have the option to straighten out what will be your left leg, your bottom leg. So stretch it out that way if you need to make it a little bit easier. Okay, but if you can keep both heels around by the opposite hips, then do try to go for that, because this is going to really nicely work the outer hip region. Now we're going to put our thumbs into kidney one. So kidney one is on the sole of your foot, just behind where the big toe mound, if you like, of the ball of the foot is. just a little bit in, maybe a thumb's width in, and there's a little point in there that you can just get your thumb into quite nicely. So you're going to put your thumbs onto your kidney 1 point and just press into there. Kidneys are very much related to the emotion of fear, and so we're trying to, if you get any feelings like that coming up, anxiety, then that can be because we're releasing some of that. You might want to stay upright, or you could fold forwards here. So the elbows bend a little bit out wide to the side. You can drop your chin towards your chest if you want to. And you just might like gently stimulating kidney 1 with your thumbs. Don't worry if you haven't got it in the right place. Don't worry if you want to leave it out, you can, but it's quite nice to hold on to the toes while you practice here. So you're just going to take a couple of minutes being in this position, and it might be that you're thinking, what am I doing? My hips are not loving this. But they will love it. They will be grateful for it. They will thank you for it later when you go maybe for your lovely evening walk, and your hips will feel in a really good place. Remember, if you don't want to fold forwards, you don't have to. You can stay upright instead. If you're getting enough sensation into the hips, then feel free to stay upright. All right, so you're going to take maybe 6 more breaths here. Okay, and then when you're ready to inhale next, gently start to lift yourself upright. And then if you can, bring your hands forwards, come back onto your hands and knees, and then you can uncross your right leg from in front of the left. And maybe just do a couple of circles with the hips. Just a little bit of tilt, a little bit of flexion, a little bit of extension to the pelvis on the low back area. Okay, go the other way. And then come with the right knee into the center of your mat space and take the foot across towards the left. And then you're going to take your left foot in front of the thigh. Try and get the knees kind of roughly one on top of the other. I'll come round to this way so you can see. And then you're going to sit back again. So it's exactly the same thing, but remember you can do this half. So you can do a half shoelace by releasing the bottom leg and having that leg out straight. And you've literally then just got the top leg crossed over the top of the thigh. You can still fold forwards. You're going to still get and stretch into the outer hip here, albeit a milder one. Okay, so if you can manage to do both, go for it. You're trying to bring your heels around by the sides of your hips. Your thumbs are back into that kidney 1 point, or just holding onto your toes, and you can fold forwards. Do try to keep your sit bones even. If they are not even, if your pelvis isn't even, maybe just sit on something like a blanket just to give you a little bit of support. Okay, so feel free to modify if you need to. And you're folding forwards. Maybe draw the navel in towards the spine slightly. But if folding forwards is not your cup of tea today, then just stay upright. Maybe close your eyes. And listen to your breath. All right, so 6 more breaths here. Keep them steady and smooth. And then on your next inhalation, when it comes, just slowly lifting yourself upright. And as you exhale, just this time, let's lean back and let the legs just gently unravel. Stretch them out in front of you. Maybe just sit back and lean back into your hands a little bit as you give the legs a shake. Nice. Okay. So I have got 2 options for you, because some of these poses are quite big, and some of these poses are, if you're new to this practice, then they can be a bit intense. So you have the choice. Choice number 1 is happy baby, and we did this one the other night, which is where you lie down. You might want to put a blanket underneath your head, arms onto the inside of your feet, and you're holding on onto the inside of your legs, but holding the outside of your feet, and your feet are looking like they're standing on the ceiling. So that's option 1. And if you have struggled to hold on to your feet, then you can use a strap to make your arms a little bit longer if necessary. So that's for those of you that want maybe a slightly more gentle practice that's a little bit less intense. And for those of you that are looking for a deeper hip opener, you're going to come into frog pose. So you're going to come into a position where your knees are as wide apart as possible. And your feet, your toes, I'm hoping you can see that my feet, I've turned my toes out to the sides. Okay, so if I turn around sideways on so that you can see that, so I've gone really as wide apart as I can. Now, obviously, just stick with happy baby if you're thinking, my knees aren't loving this, because unfortunately this is a bit intense. It's like a baby frog is the big toes together, the knees super wide apart, and then coming down into a forwards position like that. So you could try a baby frog. But if you want to go into a tadpole, should really call it a tadpole, shouldn't I? But if you can bring the feet out, so you're resting on the inside edges of your feet, toes pointing out, and you're aiming to keep moving your bottom backwards. And that's where it gets nice and juicy, because the more forwards we lean, we're just coming out of the pose. So come backwards as much as you can with your hips. Have your elbows on the floor if you can, but if you need to be upright, higher up, that's okay too. Okay, so but keep moving the sitting bones back slightly, or holding your feet. So Lindsay, bring your hands onto the inside of your legs, onto the inside of your thighs, that's it, and then reach for your feet that way. Hold the outside edges of your feet with each hand. Okay. So if you are in happy baby, try to show the soles of your feet towards the ceiling. What I love about this is when I see everybody's feet just hanging around in the air, that's dangling around. Good job, everybody. Well done. So lots of external rotation within the hips here. And I say this sometimes in the class when we do this in like a normal class setting. This always reminds me of when you debone a chicken, this pose. It's that kind of, you feel like you're being slightly pulled apart. But nevertheless, sometimes in our yin practice, being in the poses is super duper challenging and is intense. And we call it playing with our edges. We want to find the edge of where, if we were just to push it that little bit further, it would result in us tipping over the edge. It would be painful, it would be sore, and it just wouldn't be the practice anymore. So we play with that edge. And so we look for the intensity. We want to be able to breathe. We want to be able to be in the pose with effortful ease. So hopefully you heard that right. It's a mixture of effort and ease, effortful ease. And just finding the intensity, a challenge, but then looking forward, because in a moment we're going to come out of this pose. We're not going to stay here for much longer. So maybe just 6 more breaths, please, everybody. Keep moving the sit bones back as they will have come forwards. If you're in happy baby pose, try to lower your tailbone a little bit. Try not to let it curl up off of the floor if you can help it. Okay, 3 more breaths. Good job. And then to come out of this, you can lean forwards. If you're in frog, lean forwards a little bit, lift up onto your hands, and then it's that really delicious kind of easing the legs back together again. If you're in happy baby pose, maybe slide your feet away and take a full long body stretch. For those of you that are on all fours, you might just want to take a cow pose. So lift the tailbone, lift the heart, and then roll into a cat stretch, so rolling in the opposite direction. Do that again, so come into cow and cat. For those of you that are lying on your back, you can stay there, you lucky things. Good job. So those of you that are on all fours, if you can come to lie down, please. So we're going to take a twisted roots pose. So you're going to be lying on your back. Okay, and I'm going to suggest that you take the arms out to the sides at shoulder height, but if this is uncomfortable or creates pins and needles for you, then please just bring them closer towards your body. You can also use your hand to help you with the pose if you want to, and it will become clear in just a sec. So I don't mind which way you go, but you're going to cross one leg over the top of the other. So this is similar to the shoelace pose that we did sitting a moment ago. Those of you that want a deeper practice can lift the foot that's on the floor, can lift it off, and like eagle legs, you can tuck your toes behind your calf if you want to. So that's another option to go a bit deeper, those that want it. Those that don't, just let the foot rest on the floor again and just let the leg be crossed loosely over the top of the thigh, okay? And then you're going to roll towards the ground, and you're using your knee to gently, so let's just think about this. Sorry, I'm just going to make sure that you're going the right way. So if you have crossed your left leg over the top of your right thigh, then you need to roll your knees to the left. If you have crossed your right leg over the top of your left thigh, then you need to roll your knees over to the right. Okay? And you're using the weight of your top leg to gently draw the bottom leg or the bottom knee closer to the floor. And you're going to feel a nice stretch in the front of the hip, maybe into the side of the waist. You can turn your gaze in the opposite direction to the knees if you like, and just breathe. If this feels too intense and you just want to lie in a twist, then you can always uncross your legs at any time and just lie with the knees out to one side. Now close your eyes. Let the skin across your forehead become softer. And feel your gaze also becoming softer behind your closed eyelids. Breathe into the side of your body. All right. So we're going to think about coming out, coming round. So you can gently bring the knees back towards the center when you're ready and unravel the legs. And maybe hug the knees in towards your chest and have a little rock across the back of your body, just massaging the lower back into the ground. Lovely. Okay, so we're going to prepare for coming into the other side. So you need to change the cross of your legs. Take a nice big breath in, arms come out to the sides at shoulder height. And then roll the knees across towards the other side. If you want to take the eagle where you're tucking the toes behind the calf muscle, do go for it. And breathe. Settle yourself down. Doesn't matter how close the knees are, you'll probably find this is a little bit different from a normal lying belly twist, simply because you've got the legs raveled around each other. But use a sort of a decent amount of pressure from the wrapped over leg just to anchor down the bottom thigh, the bottom knee. So you get that feeling of stretch and length into the outer hip. Remember that any feelings that come up, they're quite normal. This is what happens when we practice yin. And just like in our body, if we suffer from an injury, we often are left with some scar tissue. And that scar tissue has to be worked through, it has to be broken down before we fully really recover from the injury. And the same thing happens in our emotional body. We have emotional scars that get left and we hold on to them really, really tightly. And remember that in Chinese medicine, the organs all relate to different emotions. And so therefore, when we release and we work into the organs, we then start to find that we can release things that we've been holding on to for a long time. Sometimes we're ready to release that stuff, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we don't want to. We quite like holding on to it. And that's okay too. When it is time to let it go, allow it to go. Give it permission. Allow those feelings of maybe frustration or anger or fear, anxiety, allow it to bubble up and just notice it. Try not to react. Acknowledge what you're feeling. Doesn't matter where it's come from or why you're feeling it. Just let it go. As my teacher says, if you can be with your anger, then often kindness may blossom. If you can acknowledge your fear, wisdom will grow. So a couple more breaths here. That's really nice, everyone. Well done. And then allow your head to return to the center, your legs to return, unraveling the legs, maybe giving them a hug in towards your chest. So if you didn't have an opportunity for, whilst we just lie out here, if you haven't had an opportunity for a happy baby moment yet, and you'd like to take one, then please reach for your feet and just hold your feet. If you've already done happy baby and you want to take it for another moment again, or you can just lie with your knees hugged in and rocking from side to side. Or another option is to take a couple of setu bandhas, a couple of bridge poses. So the feet, knees bent, feet on the floor, and then lifting the hips up towards the ceiling. So again, this is a nice release, similar to the saddle pose that we did at the very beginning. And we're going to explore a little bit in a moment. Okay. So if you're in a happy baby, you can have a little rock from side to side here. That's quite nice. Maybe tapping the knee down onto the floor by your side as you rock. So you've got a little bit of work going on in the tummy. Okay. And then you're going to come back towards the center and release the feet. Okay, so we're coming into reclining butterfly, which is Supta Baddha Konasana. So the soles of the feet together, the knees are opened out wide. Now you could just lie on the floor, take the arms up over the head and go for it that way. Or you have the option to start with the bolster underneath the back of you, so that it's just nestled, and this is going to create a more pronounced back bend should you want one. Okay, so you've got the soles of the feet together and maybe a cushion underneath each knee. What's also really nice, if you have anything that is heavy, like a book, if you haven't got yoga blocks, obviously yoga blocks is what we would use. I've got sandbags here that I would use to put on my legs. And it's just nice to have something heavy on the inside of the thighs, not on the knee joint itself, please, just on the inner thigh. And that little bit of weight can be quite nice. And it's also good to have something underneath the thighs, not too much, but just something to catch them so that you don't feel too vulnerable in the position that you're in. So option to have the bolster or cushions or none. support the back of the head and the neck, maybe roll up a blanket and wedge that into the back of the neck, like you might have done if you were practicing the saddle pose. And then you can either have your elbows on the floor with your palms opened out wide to the side, or you can take the arms around the top of the head. So we're almost very, very similar to how we've started. And we've used this pose so far quite a lot. We use this at the beginning. I like to come into this at the beginning of yin practices. But for today's practice, where we're really focusing into the hips, and we've kind of gone 360 around them, okay? Now we've got a lot of sensation perhaps in the inner thighs as we lengthen here. And remember too that the connective tissue and the muscles, not that we're particularly worried about muscles in this practice, we're not. We're worried about connective tissues and joints and sinews and tendons, all the things that hold us together, in particular the connective tissue that weaves through all the muscles anyway. Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to lengthen and open up and create space. And remember that the inner thigh area is directly related to the pelvic floor. So when we work to strengthen this area of the body, we're also going to be benefiting other areas of the body too. So just lie and breathe and enjoy. So oftentimes when we take a back bend, such as you are here in reclining butterfly pose, we also open up into the heart. And in Chinese medicine, everything always kind of goes back to the heart eventually. The heart is considered to be the emperor. So it's the all-important organ. And so as we move our way through in our practice around different regions of the body and start to open up areas like the hips and release feelings of frustration and anger and irritability, then that only benefits the heart. And lying in reclining butterfly, what you are doing, if you'd like to kind of disregard Chinese medicine for a minute and go back into more of a yogic or more of a classic kind of energy medicine and think about the energy centers that run through the center of the body, then you could think about how they are all gently being opened in this reclining position. There's space, and you could breathe your way through each one of them as you go. The heart is situated in the center of the chest, so forget the organ. The heart energy center is right in the middle, and the color associated with it is green. Interestingly, the color associated with the hips and with the liver is also green. The time of the year associated with it is spring. So everything that we're doing now is working in a very much a holistic way to support and to nourish and to heal your body. Okay. So we're going to think about coming out of the pose. And I'd probably suggest there's a couple of ways to do this, but maybe use your hands to ease your knees closer together first of all. And then if you're lying on something, just take care, maybe bring the chin towards the chest, and then you can roll to one side and just lie on your side for a few moments. Let your body be fairly curled up and soft. All right. And then we're going to settle ourselves down into Shavasana. So we're going to take a really nice, long, restful, nourishing Shavasana this afternoon. And so for that, what I want you to do is come to lie down. You must make sure that you're going to be warm enough, okay? So if you want to cover yourself over with a blanket, go for it. You might want to roll up or put a cushion or a bolster underneath your backs of your knees. You might want something to support your head. You don't have to have any of those things. If you haven't got them to hand and you want to skip them out, don't worry. It would be quite nice, however, to cover your eyes. So just to shut some of the light out for a little while. So if you've got an eye pillow, use that. If you've got some spare time and you don't have one, just make one. They're really, really easy to make for future reference. But the arm of a jumper is a very nice alternative. I would say some socks, but not, maybe you don't really want to lie with a pair of socks over your face. Anyway, get yourself super comfy. If you have the luxury of yoga blocks or bricks to hand, then it is quite nice, especially at this time, because at the moment we need to feel like we are being held, and our practice is going to nourish us in that sense. But we've opened ourselves up quite a lot, especially in the butterfly pose. So in order for us to feel held, we need to snuggle into Shavasana so we feel really wrapped up, maybe blanket over us. But the brick or something heavy, a book would do just as good. And to lay with it just on your lower abdomen in between the navel and the pubic bones. And then if you've got the luxury of two, another one here on your chest. So all of this obviously lying down. So you've got those two, just something that's got a little bit of weight to it can make for a really relaxing, really restful, deeper Shavasana experience. So yeah, books if you haven't got bricks or blocks. Okay. So this is our lovely kind of dive into a deeper Shavasana perhaps than normal. So if you fall off to sleep, that's okay, please don't worry. But we need to get completely relaxed. So make sure that you've done all the fidgeting around that you need so that you don't need to move anymore. Feel your shoulders beginning to sink into the mat beneath you. And allow them to sort of spread out, but at the same time, feel the shoulder blades supporting the back of your body. If you want to, just turn your head from side to side a couple of times, just to make absolutely sure that the neck is as free and as easy as can be. And then find a settled space on the back of your head so that you can rest in stillness. Maybe move your chin just a fraction closer towards your chest. And I find it's quite nice for Shavasana to have the chin, the height of the chin lower than the height of the forehead. So just sort of bring the chin in a little bit. Either rest the hands on your tummy, or if they're out by your sides, ensure that the palms are turned up and the fingers are curling slightly. I'd like you now to imagine that a cool blue light is surrounding your body from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes. Feel this light widening outwards, creating an aura of light around you. Feel it pulsating with life and energy. And allow this light to be a healing light. If you feel in need of healing, either mentally, emotionally, or physically, allow this healing to take place whilst you relax. Take your attention to your breath and allow your tummy to slowly rise and fall with each breath that you take. Be a witness for your breath. Don't try to change it. Just let it come and go. And observe the evenness of your breath. Its quiet and soothing rhythm. Allow your body to just be. Now be aware of melting down onto the floor. And you feel quite safe and secure. Feel the colour blue soaking into the body, drenching all your cells with fresh life force, with energy, with balance. Allow yourself to surrender to the healing. Now, take the attention to your feet and allow the toes to feel separate and spread. Allow the instep of your foot to let go, the sole of the foot, the ankle, and feel the feet as solid and heavy. Feel as though the feet are moving away from you, dense and heavy. So heavy that you feel as though you are unable to move them. Allow the feet to relax and let go. Feel them flopping out to the sides. Allow the legs to release, the shins, the calves, the knee and the kneecap, the thighs and the back of the thighs. Allow the legs to release and let go. Feel as though the legs are moving away from you, solid, heavy and dense. Take the attention now to your hands, to the back of the hands touching the floor, to the fingertips, the fingers, and the palm of the hand. Feel the softness in the palm of the hand. Allow the lower arm to let go, the elbow, the upper arm, the whole of the arm releasing down, moving away. Now, take the attention to the back and feel the vertebra release from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. Visualize each vertebra letting go and release onto the floor. Feel the whole of the back spread outwards. Feel the back widen, and at the same time feel the length, the stretch, the whole of the back spreading across the floor. And be aware of the amount of space the body takes up, the small amount of space. Take your awareness to your belly and be aware of the softness in the belly, the slow, steady breath, the calm, quiet coming and going of the breath. Witness the rhythm, the separation of the breath, the pause and the still point, as if the whole body is breathing, that the breath is breathing the body. Allow the abdomen to let go and feel the softness in the belly. Allow the chest center to open out, and on each inhalation, feel the division of the breath. Allow this openness to create a space within the chest center, allowing you the freedom to breathe mentally and physically. Allow this freedom to open out the heart center, creating a release, a feeling you may not have felt for a long time. Allow this center to be filled with peace. Feel this openness now spreading to the throat to release the voice, to move around the neck, the back of the head, the crown of the head, the scalp, the space between the scalp and the skull, and even the hair on the head. As you allow the face to let go and soften, the lower jaw slightly drops. Feel the entire face release. The forehead, the eyes, the eyebrows, the eyelids relaxing in pools of darkness, the temples, the nose, the tip of the nose, the cheeks, the cheekbones, the upper lip and the lower lip, the jaw and the hinges of the jaw, the chin, and even the ears and the earlobes. Feel the whole body release and sink down onto the floor. All you are aware of is the steady breath, the rise and fall of the belly as the breath moves in and out. Feel as though you are just witnessing the breath. Be an observer. Notice the 4 parts of the breath, the inhalation and the pause, the exhalation and the pause. Now, take the attention back to the heart. Feel the energetic heart center in the middle of the chest. And feel as though the breath is parting the chest, like waves on a seashore, coming and going. Feel the chest expand, widen, open out. And in this opening is space. A space that allows you to breathe more easily, both mentally and physically. Deep down within this space is a tiny seed of emerald green light. As you breathe in and out, allow this seed to grow into a ball of emerald green energy. Allow it to soak into the chest center, to bathe the lungs in green light, to bring energy, harmony, and balance. Allow the whole body to be healed by this green light. Allow the whole body to breathe in this emerald light. Now, feel as though you are sinking into a lush green carpet of springy grass. Allow the earth to support you as the whole body is bathed in a green, luminous light. And then, when you feel ready, begin to bring the body back to the space you are occupying on the floor. Allow any visualization you may be experiencing to gently fade. And be aware of how peaceful, calm, and relaxed you now feel. Become aware of your fingers and your toes. And start to turn your head from side to side again. Take a stretch out now, any way that feels good. And then when you're ready, you can begin to bend your knees and take a roll over to one side where you just pause for a minute, lying on your side. And then taking as much time as you need, using your hands to support you to come up. Slowly bring yourself up to a seated position. And we will end the practice together. So take any comfortable seat, taking your fingertips back down just to kind of ground you. So make sure that you touch down, touch the mat, touch the earth if you can. Then take a lovely big breath in and sweep the hands all the way up above your head. And then bring the hands down, and we just leave the hands on the top of the head for the moment and close the eyes. And we breathe in and out. And we just send out some thanks and gratitude to all of the teachers that are sadly no longer with us, the teachers from years and years ago that have given us this practice. And then we take the hands and we rest them in front of the forehead, roughly where the third eye center is. And we send out thanks to all of the teachers that we have in our life, whether it's our family, our friends, our actual teachers, our children, whatever it might be. And then you can finally take your hands down to rest in front of your own heart. And remember, your own heart is your own greatest and best teacher. So send a little bit of thanks and gratitude to your own heart. And just breathe in and out. Just take a couple more breaths before we come out completely. Just be for a moment in this lovely kind of closing end to our practice. All right. Then when you're ready, you can bow your chin towards your chest and we will share Namaste. Good job. Okay, well done everybody. Good job. Nicely done. So if you can, I'm going to come and unmute you. And maybe try and get outside this afternoon and get yourself on some grass and in some sunshine, and just kind of ground yourselves a little bit in nature, because that will hold you in really good stead for the afternoon if necessary. If you've got any questions at all, then hang around and ask, or send me a message or an email. But if not, I will look forward to seeing you maybe on Tuesday evening at 7:30. I'll pop an email out with all the login codes for next week's classes soon. Okay. So well done, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
See you afternoon. Super work. Well done.
Thanks.
You got the dog off, Joe. Look, he's still asleep.
The kids. When they're at their dad's. Dad, I should say. Yeah. You're all right, Lindsay. How are you doing?
Yes, all right, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm okay. How's your dad?
Well, the carers go twice a day, and they've sort of said to just leave it up to them. So I have been, which I have to say is quite nice as well. So and he seems to be thriving.
Good.
I dropped some shopping down the other day at a distance, and he looks the best I've seen him look for a long time. So
oh, that's brilliant. Oh, good.
I think he's enjoying having somebody in twice a day.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes the pressure off him, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right.
Okay,
Okay, well, yeah, catch up with me and I'll see you next week in classes.
Okay.
You too,
Bye.
Lindsay. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Right, I'm nearly there. I'm nearly done this.